Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this week's live trading session, and equally so the trade review session. I think I forgot to tell Sam that I'm using two screens today, so I'm not sure how this is working out, but apologies for that. So just one announcement at the beginning. Hopefully you can see the trading screen now. I am going to switch to using Vantage on Monday. So for those of you who want to get set up at Vantage, you can get the link from Sam, preferably, because I'll have to ask Sam for it. And the difference will be that it will be the cash price that the trade calls are coming from. So as we can see at the moment, the Dow is trading towards the high of the day, where we're bid at 35,028. And we've been up. This is pretty much the high. We've over the last couple of minutes we've traded around this level. My apologies. Before I started this session, I forgot to put the dogs away. So if they do start barking, if somebody comes to the door or something, then I apologise. But with the Dow there, 35,000 I expect it to be a very strong barrier to this market. Unfortunately, that's not proving the case. I'm short Dow still from yesterday. I stopped myself out on one of the trades that I carried over around this level earlier. And a week, just looking at the week, and you might be hearing a little bit of despondency in my voice. Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday, which were spectacular really, the best part of 900 pips over those 3 days. I've ruined that over the course of yesterday and today, and I'm likely going to end up flat to slightly worse off this week, which is really disappointing given the start of the week, and leads to that old football saying that it was a game of two halves, and it definitely has been. I've not been catching anything right since the start of Thursday, and as I'm talking, the Dow is moving up towards that 35,050 level where my next stop is. I do have a couple of trades in that I put in a little bit earlier ahead of the opening bell. I'm reluctant to place another trade around the opening bell, but because we have a live trading session, I will do that. Goldman Sachs earnings easily beat expectations earlier today, which, as I've written about on a number of occasions this week, has been what I forecasted. I think the outlook for the next couple of weeks is not as good. We are going to be looking at a lot of companies reporting that do have the supply issues and some of the other problems that we've been facing over the last couple of weeks. So I do expect earnings to take a bit of a downturn. I've written on a couple of occasions this week that I'm expecting the bank earnings to be particularly good, and they've proven to be that. At the beginning of the week, I was looking to buy on dips. We did that probably through till Wednesday, and then on that occasion, with the rallies that we saw in the market, I started to take a short position, and I've been blown out from that particular point. The markets have rallied away, continued to rally away, and we're approaching very nearly record highs certainly in the Dow and one or two of the other indices as well. So it will be interesting to see where we go at the opening bell in about 5 minutes. There is every potential that we have some fairly significant stops around this level in the market, and we could push up to considerably higher than we currently are. whilst I'm not running any sell orders at this point, if we do see a sharp movement to the upside, I will do my best to sell into it during this particular segment, and hopefully see that movement start to peter out and a move back to the to 35,000 and below. I'm not expecting this move to hold, but based on the success over the last couple of days, I wouldn't be storing too much credit behind that statement. Equally so with gold today. I was short gold. I bought it back reasonably early, and I mentioned again that I wanted to sell gold and be short gold, and I've repeated that a couple of times during the day. Unfortunately, with the movement to the downside, I wasn't able to get short gold as I had done, as I had wanted, and we've seen a significant movement off. I stopped out one trade at 1765. The market has rallied a little bit from that point, and I am probably a little bit more exposed to the market than I want to be at this time. But let's see where we open. Richard is asking, does the strong retail sales number change my view? The answer is that that isn't the case. I still think that the earnings next week are going to disappoint. So the trade from yesterday has just stopped out whilst I'm talking. I'm not seeing too much movement in the DAX. The DAX is hovering around that 15,535 level. So I will look to take a trade as the market opens. Got about 2.5 minutes to go there. And we're hovering around 35,050. Gold is at 1768. So I have a lot of positions, or a reasonable number of positions, to close this afternoon. It's going to be a difficult afternoon, one that I would like to be over sooner rather than later. But we'll see where the market goes as the bell sounds. And as I said, if we do see that sharp movement to the upside, I will be looking to sell into that. Ideally, I'm looking for something that pushes above 35,075. I might just place that order whilst we're looking at this. So I'm just going to put an order in just slightly above the market where we currently are. I'll probably go to 35,085.86. So I've just placed an order there above the market. The anticipation being that hopefully we see a few stops trigger, and then that momentum peter out fairly quickly, and we see a movement back down towards 35,000. With the mood that I'm in, I'd like to see all of that movement personally, but we'll see where we go with about 90 seconds or just over to go to the opening bell. We're still hovering around that 35,050 level. Bit of an uptick there, 35,060. 65, and we still continue to wait for the opening bell. Sterling has obviously appreciated against the dollar over the last couple of days. Gold is holding reasonably firm for me. I'm just going to change the Dow to a minute chart so we can see those movements as they start to come in. And I'll change back to, I'll probably change back to the Dow now. I'm just keeping an eye on gold because obviously I'm long gold as well. Gold's around 1769. So we've just got the Dow there, waiting for the bell to go and to see what type of orders are going to come through in the first few minutes of trading. There will be a number of people like myself who are caught a little bit short. That may be encouraged into closing those positions at the opening bell, but we'll wait and see. Right now we're trading a little bit lower. The bell's gone, and we're fairly close to the levels, probably just slightly lower, just gone down a little bit, 35,000 and 17.18. So we're holding above the 35,000 line. Obviously the cash is well above that level at this particular point, but there are some people taking profit, probably taking profit from the last couple of days worth of trading when they've largely been against my position. But we've moved down there. The limit order isn't going to trigger, so certainly not in these first few minutes of trading, I don't believe. So I'm just going to take that out whilst I can. There have been a couple of occasions where I've forgotten to close these opening orders recently, or these orders around the opening bell. So hovering around 35,000 on the Dow, so there's been no trade in there so far. The Goldman Sachs information heavily biased towards their investment banking operation and their trading, but a significant beat on earnings. That information will obviously be looked at. People will start analysing those numbers and looking at those at the opinions of what that means to the markets. I do believe that, as I've mentioned already, that there is that I think the companies that are upcoming next with the earnings, when people settle and focus on those, I do think that the results aren't going to be as good as people may have forecast and have expected. So this is going to be the best week of the earnings season for the Q3 period. But we really have to wait and see, and certainly it's not going to help my position as it currently stands. Gold still trading there at 1767. So I'm just going to bring up the week's trades there. You've got the trades that are still open in yellow. You can see the significant success that I had on Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday. You total those up and we're fairly close to 900 pips. Couple of early trades on Thursday, probably take that up to 900 pips, and then I sold the Dow at 34,515. It was a limit order. I think the order was taken either very close to the opening bell or just before it, and the market pretty much never got back to those levels. So stopped that out around 750, started to get short again. And have been the wrong side of the market ever since. So by the time that I put the closing trade in, we're probably looking at a 700 pip loss for Thursday, and looking at some losing trades to continue into today as well, unfortunately. So whether we stay flat or suffer a small loss this week, the remainder, or the closing of the remainder of the trades for today, is going to tell. I don't anticipate taking any other trades. I think with the number of stops that I've seen over the last 2 days, it's definitely not a market that I'm succeeding in at this particular moment in time. So I'm better to step away. Probably would have been better to step away on Wednesday, unfortunately, and go away for a long weekend. Unfortunately, I didn't take that. I didn't take that decision. So, markets now that we're open 4.5 minutes or so. Gold is still hovering around 1767. The rationale for me this morning in trying to get short gold was that if we were going to continue to see good numbers from the banks, investors were going to see through some of the inflation worries that were perceived to be in the market over the last number of weeks, then the potential for gold to sell off, which had rallied hugely during or throughout some of these inflation stories, for me was going to be very much at the forefront of people's minds. Now, unfortunately, it's worked out that way, and I haven't been on the trade, and I'm now trying to buy on some of these dips and hope that we see a bit of a reaction and a bit of a movement back to the upside. Let's not forget, gold was trading 1795 early this morning. It's currently at 1767 and change. So I am looking hopefully for a slight rebound in gold. But that was the logic behind why I wanted to be short gold. Investors were starting to see through some of these inflation or look beyond, see through isn't the right word, but to look beyond some of these inflation stories, and for that reason I expected gold, which had benefited from those inflation stories, to sell off, and we've seen that throughout the day. Unfortunately, I was out of my own trade far too early and didn't get the opportunity to sell into any bounces. I think I had a limit order in at 1769. No, it's higher. Sorry, it was 17. Must have been 1779 or 1789. I can't remember now. But unfortunately, it didn't trigger, and we're now a good way to 200 to 300 pips off of those levels as well. So the markets are remaining quite volatile, back up around 35,050 in the Dow futures. If we see 35,100, potentially I might sell into that, but to be honest, the remainder of the day is really just looking to unwind the positions that I currently have. I'm not going to add anything else. If you do have any questions, I've answered one or two there this afternoon. But if you do have any further questions, then I will gladly answer those over the course of the remainder of today or the weekend. And just a reminder that from Monday, I am going to switch to a Vantage trading account. We've got some really tight spreads there that hopefully improve profitability when you're in profitability, and to a certain extent will reduce damage to a particularly bad day, as I've experienced over the last 2 days. But I'll leave you there, and we'll reconvene next week. And as I've mentioned several times now, it will be with cash prices coming from Vantage. And if you do want to sign up to Vantage, please get in touch with sam@bullandbearcat.com. and we will be able to facilitate that for you. Thank you very much for joining me today.